G'day everyone, Jason Nunn with the Friday Fishing Report, brought to you by Fisherman's Warehouse Marine, Sweet Street at Warners Bay. And I've sort of held off as long as I can with the report this afternoon, guys, just to see what the weather, and then just to see how it's going to actually physically develop. There's a lot of cloud build-up coming in from the east, but I think the worst of it at this stage, from what I can see, is basically Sydney south, and particularly Wollongong down to Bateman's Bay. They look like they're going to actually get punished over the next 24-hour period. Still a bit of rain coming out of the west, but look, I've got to be honest, the wind direction isn't that bad. It's a little bit of a sou'easter at Nobbies at the moment, under 10 knots and very little down at Nora Head. There's still a bit of an onshore wind is what's going to be with us for the next couple of days, but I don't see it getting above 10, maybe 15 knots at the best. So we're going to have showers, yes, but there's no torrential, rain and heaps of wind and giant seas and everything else. So we might be a little bit spared this weekend, so we can salvage something out of it. Out wide, of course, last weekend was the Lake Macquarie Game Fishing Club had the opportunity to fish. A couple of competitors went out, which I was even more surprised about, with the Northern Zone, and of course Katana, 121 kilo mako on 15 in the overnight. That's a great effort, and it's a great effort just to be out there, out on the shelf overnight. So the boys did very, very well, but that was the trend, though. I suppose only the faint-hearted would have gone out there, and very, very wet the conditions were, the boys reported, but not big seas and not big sea conditions. But there was a little bit on offer there, and there was a big lurking one running around at the weigh station down there last Sunday as well. So it just gives you a bit of an idea with all the kids that are trying to jump off the weigh station into the drink. You got 200 kilo whaler sharks running around at your feet. Your mum and dad might wish you actually don't do that activity. So we'll just see how good and how long that lasts out. Surprisingly enough, guys, the mulleters have gone off Blacksmith's Breakwood, and reports have it that a very, very poor season of mullet on the Blacksmith stretch. And I have to be honest, it seems coastally at the present moment, particularly mid-north coast, up a lot more fish. But down our part of the woods, we've had a very, very poor season on mullet, particularly compared to last year. And I don't know whether that's just because of the weather conditions or there's still more to move out of the lake. And you and I both know that the river has had a lot of fresh come through, as has Lake Macquarie and, of course, the Hawkesbury River. But not a lot of mullet coastally at the present moment. Maybe still coming up the coast from down south further, but a very poor season on mullet. And talking of poor seasons, it's been a very poor season so far for tailor along the coast as well, and particularly on the beaches. There was a few about a month ago, and there's still sprinklings up around Stockton. There's still quite a few getting caught early mornings off the rocks and late in the afternoons on the beach, but not into the numbers that they were this time last year. This time last year, we had probably the best tailor season in 30 years on that Belmont Blacksmith stretch, and that really hasn't kicked in. I know there's been a lot of swell, and we've had a lot of rain. There's been not a lot of good conditions to get out there and experience some of it, but a little bit short on, so I'm hoping that actually improves as we start to then move into the latter part of May and then hopefully into June. There's still enough bonito around Moon Island, guys, to get out there and have a bit of fun, but I think this inshore fishery at the moment is where you really want to be paying your attention. Still nice snapper on those inshore reefs. There's been some very nice trag, and of course there's quite a few mulloway. I've just come back off now the new moon, and we've had some very big tides this week. Some of those tides that come through in the evening were as high as 2.06. So a lot of water was exchanging, particularly in and out of the lake, getting that flushing, trying to freshen up the lake itself. The tides this weekend, you're looking at around about an 11 o'clock tide tomorrow, and it's at high, but it's a poor tide. It's only around about 1.4 for a high tide, and about 4:30 tomorrow afternoon for the low. So as I say, those morning tides now, that we've gone through the equinox period, they're not very big at all, so there's not a lot of push. The bigger high tides are now into basically the evening. Now, based on those inshore reefs, again, Burley I think is really going to be the key, but just get in there and have a bit of a go. There's still quite a few flathead around, but what we've seen now is a real increase in flathead back through the estuary and into the lake in particular. I know my good mate Ronnie Owen had a fish yesterday afternoon down in the channel. He got 3 really nice flathead, 2 of which up into almost 70 centimetres each, and a couple of really good trevally. So there's some beautiful flathead and trevally in the lake itself. So the channel where that fresher water's coming through, you're starting to see that bit more diversity, but some beautiful flathead within the lake on those bait skills. And now we're now starting to see quite a few tailor within the lake. Just this morning alone up here in Warners Bay, there was a lot of fish busting up on the esplanade around here. Now a good report this week also from a good mate Lucas Stansfield. He was over the western side of the lake and had fish busting through gars and bait just getting boiled up and smashed to pieces. Particularly that fishing point down to Rathmines area and back up the Coal Point, which again is typical of this time of year, that triangle effect. You know, Wangi, fishing point, Coal Point, working that deeper water on the troll. But a lot of fish there, and of course, he almost, and I'll stress the word, Lucas, you almost made the meter club as well, having a fish off the bank, fishing for brim with a 1-0 hook, a 90 plus centimetre flathead, which he caught just in the lip and let it go quite successfully. These are the sort of fish that are around at the moment. There has been a real increase in the numbers of flathead, which we would expect in May when a lot more of those fish that went out in autumn have started to then filter their way back through. So flathead, brim in particular, and some really nice mulloway around, mixed in with these tailor. Now, no doubt, there's probably a few salmon also mixed in with these tailor, but you're going to need to move around. Reports early in the week down around the southern end of the lake was there was still a lot of bird life, a lot of fish busting up, but no real size to the tailor. I think the centre of the lake, and particularly up that little bit north, where it's getting that bigger push of cleaner salt water underneath the fresh, has basically solving a bit of a problem. And the tailor themselves not having any problem pushing the bait up through into that fresh and just smashing. The fish that I seen up here at Warners Bay this morning were quite big. I could see the chopping from, you know, hundreds of metres away, and that's what raised my attention to it. So some very good fish within the lake itself. Squid guys, very, very difficult to get. I spoke to a couple of the Intel fellas this week. They're struggling to get squid, so you're really going to be reliant on whatever's in your freezer or trying to get maybe a few fresh tailor strips and alike and fish for some of these mulloway, because remember now we've come off the back of that new moon. We're going to start to build now into the next phase of the full, which I do think that's going to really sort of increase. But the brim on the beaches and on the rocks, there's been significant numbers, and in the lake itself, some really, really good fish. I just think you just got to move around, and again, we've talked about it many times, the oily bait this time of year are going to be the pick. All in all, guys, this weekend, I don't think it's as bad as what it was said it was going to be. I'm hoping that is the case for everyone's benefit, and with a bit of luck, we might see some better weather next week, although Tuesday, Wednesday of next week look exceptional, particularly Wednesday. If you've got an opportunity to swing a Ross today, you've got a day off, you're blessed, because that's where you want to be. You want to be trying to get offshore, because the water out on the fat in those areas at the moment still a very good coloured blue, so there will be a lot of kings down on that Texas area and some really good snapper now in that deep water. Time to get out there. Tuesday, Wednesday, and the week's the pick. If not, stay in the estuary this weekend. See you next Friday.